Hello and welcome to TrojanVision One-on-One. I am your host, Stephanie East. TrojanVision One-on-One is where we talk to the people around Troy University who make this such a special place. And joining us today is Gus McKenzie, the Senior Director of Enrollment Services here at Troy. Gus, thanks so much for taking the time to talk to us today.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, well, so Gus, let's start off. Tell me, what does the Senior Director of Enrollment Services do?
Yeah, it's a long, complicated title that really just means I oversee the undergraduate freshman recruitment for the university. So we have recruiters that go out to high schools and community events and are really beating the drum for Troy.
And talk a little bit about enrollment. When your recruiters go out, how do they sell Troy University to incoming students?
Yeah, it's definitely different for each student that they're talking to and different for each admissions counselor. They all have their own journey and how they became affiliated with Troy. And so personally, when I was a recruiter up in Birmingham, it was, hey, you know, I got this incredible degree for an incredible value. I had such a good scholarship. And so being able to talk about those financial reasons of choosing, you know, Troy over other institutions was typically where I, you know, tried to lead the conversation.
Well, and I want to talk more about getting students to Troy, but first let's talk about your Troy experience.
Yeah.
You are a two-time Troy grad yourself. Tell us a little bit about your background.
Yeah, so graduated high school in 2015 at Monroe Academy down in Monroeville, Alabama, and throughout my senior year was exploring colleges and knew I didn't want too big or too small. I had toured some other institutions, and so had finally toured Troy, and I have some family ties as well. I'm a third generation Troy grad, so my mother and her mother are graduates from Troy, and so they did not push Troy on me, but were very excited when that was where I decided that I was going to attend. And so got here as a freshman and just kind of took off from there.
Well, tell us what your major was in college.
So I finished with communication studies. That's not where I started. I thought that I was going to be English education. I was going to teach English and coach football. And I did my first classroom visit in my intro to ed class, and I drove right back to Adams admin, and I changed my major. And so I changed it to just English. And so after some conversations after that and knowing that wasn't exactly the path I wanted to go down, I took intro to communications and fell in love with it, and the rest was history.
Yeah, I think a lot of us do that as college students. I think my very first major was accounting, and then I realized, oh, I'm terrible at math. Let me change that. But I love talking, so I did journalism and communications myself. But you didn't stop there. Then you got a grad degree in communications as well, correct?
So once I was working at the university after I graduated undergrad, decided to pursue further education, so I got the master's in strategic communication, fully online when I was living in Birmingham. Fantastic experience. For me, it was fun because a lot of the professors were the same from undergrad, and so getting to continue those relationships was really special for me.
And so you got your undergrad at Troy and then started working for Troy. So you've been a part of the Troy family for a long time.
Yeah, a decade now at this point, which is crazy to say. I got 10-year high school reunion coming up in a few weeks, and that also coincides with being here for 10 years, which is just really crazy to think about for me.
So what do you tell students when you say, you've got to think about Troy? You said not too big, not too small. That's one of the things I loved about this too. But what are some of the other selling points that you tell potential students about Troy University?
Yeah, I mean, if you have a student that wants to be really involved in multiple things, I can just tell them my own personal student journey. I had multiple leadership roles in several different organizations as a student, and at a larger institution that just wouldn't have been possible. There's too many people vying for the same positions, and so it's really hard to do multiple things and spread your interests, where I was able to kind of do whatever I wanted to here at Troy in terms of the opportunities were endless for me.
And what were some of those opportunities? Now, one I want to get to just a little bit that we were talking about off camera, but what were some of the leadership positions you held here?
Yeah, so it started early on for me. I was a freshman forum delegate and was the treasurer my freshman year, and then sophomore year was one of the freshman forum directors, so one of the overseers of that organization, which was a ton of fun. That's a great organization on campus where students kind of transition from high school student government to collegiate student government and learn the ways that's different and that's very different. And then sophomore year, I was actually president of my fraternity, Alpha Tau Omega. And then senior year, I had the pleasure of being the Student Government Association president as well.
Fantastic. And what made you decide, I think I'm going to run for SGA president?
I don't know. It just felt right. You know, I had done so much throughout my undergraduate career. My campaign slogan was "Give back with Gus," and so I'd kind of spun everything as, "Hey, this university has given me so much. I want to find a way to give back." And so, community service was kind of the pinpoint of my campaign whenever I was running.
And was there a particular event as SGA president that stands out to you that you'll remember forever?
Oh gosh, there's so many. I know as a undergraduate senior, getting to sit in on Board of Trustees meetings was very intimidating, but very insightful to see how those types of things operate. And now, in my current position, knowing how those things operate, having sat through 3 of them as a board member, technically as the SGA president, it was really impactful for me to kind of see how the sausage is made, so to speak.
Well, you mentioned being a part of your fraternity, Alpha Tau Omega, and their big fundraiser is Walking Hard, or Walk Hard, I should say. And we hear about this every spring break, but I want to hear it from your perspective. First of all, tell us about Walk Hard.
Yeah, so Walk Hard, it's a 128.3 mile walk from the heart of Troy University's campus to the furthest thing that you could stop, the beach, Panama City, right? So they kind of bob and weave through Alabama and Florida and take those 6 marathons in a row all the way down there with about 40 pounds on their back. And so freshman year, I didn't do it. Back when I was in the chapter, it wasn't common to walk as a freshman. It was kind of a rite of passage as a sophomore to step up and walk, and so I did that my sophomore year, and it was brutal. I mean, it's really, really hard, but we raised what we thought was a lot of money back then, just over $30,000, and this past year they raised well over $100,000. So it's just really cool to see how that program has grown in not a lot of years.
And the charity that they raise money for is Wounded Warriors, is that correct?
Yep, so it's Jeep Sullivan's Wounded Warrior Outdoor Adventures. And so Jeep is a retired pastor who lives down in Bonifay, Florida. And his mission is taking wounded veterans and their families on these excursions in the outdoors just to become whole in the outdoors, as they say. And so it's a great way for them to connect veterans to each other and connect them with the Word and be able to just build that community and give them a resource that they may not have otherwise.
Well, tell us a little bit how they prep you for this long walk. What did they tell you to bring? Extra socks or new shoes? What did they say to prep?
Yeah, I mean, they do a lot of practice walks, but really there's nothing you can do to prepare. I mean, the first day is 28 miles. You get almost to Enterprise. Now you're changing socks several times a day. You're sometimes changing shoes. You're sweating like crazy. You're praying it doesn't rain. I mean, there's a lot of factors that go into it, but in terms of preparation, there's not a lot you can do because it's not the first day that gets you. It's the 3rd, 4th, and 5th and 6th days where it's really piling on that are tough.
I was talking to a friend whose son just pledged that fraternity, and she was asking me more about it. And she said, "Where do they sleep? And you know, how does that work?" And I said, "I'm not sure." So tell us about that.
So the first few years of Walk Hard, the guys actually, I mean, they looked like hobos. Like they slept under bridges, they slept on the side of the road. The guys now are not roughing it so bad. So there are local churches along the way that open their doors and let them sleep and shower there. And then the last night, to kind of pay homage to the first year, they actually sleep outside at a state park, but it's still covered and they've got a fire and it's cozy. But yeah, it's grown a ton in its infancy.
Now, is this a charity or an event that's just unique to Troy University, or do other chapters do it around the country as well, to different places?
Yeah, so there's one other chapter up in Michigan that does a similar style event, a long walk, but Walk Hard in Troy is pretty unique.
And what was it like when you got down there and you saw the faces of the people you were raising money for? That had to be a pretty amazing experience.
Yeah, it's so awesome. You can't describe how great it is. And every night they have one of the Wounded Warriors that Jeep works with come in and actually tell their story, their combat story and what happened. And so when a guy with no legs is telling you, hey, you know, keep going, you look down and your bruises aren't so bad, right? And so you continue to push forward and go on, and it really, each night you're reinvigorated to go, all right, I'm going to get up tomorrow at sunrise and I'm going to do this again, because these people have given, you know, ultimate sacrifice to us.
And I saw recently that the fraternity started an alumni chapter here at Troy. So why is that important to bring that here to the university?
Yeah, so we want to keep the guys connected to each other and to the university, and so we saw that it was a way to be able to push forth both of those missions. And so this year is actually the 20th year of ATO Kappa Beta here at Troy University, so we'll have our big banquet in a couple weeks and do an honorary initiation, and so we're just really excited to continue growth. We're not one of the older chapters on campus, And so it's great for us to be able to continue to grow our alumni base and keep them connected with the university.
And I know we've talked a lot about your fraternity, but I think that leads into everything that you can get involved in here at Troy. And tell me how you have your recruiters say that to the students you're trying to get here.
Yeah, I mean, we have admissions counselors and recruiters that were cheerleaders at Troy. We've got people who are members of the Sound of the South on the color guard and dance team, and so we as an office represent lots of the ways that you can get involved at Troy, even some student athletes. And so you've got all of those opportunities, and we tell students that are interested in Troy, like, don't limit yourself. Try new things, establish new things that you may not even know exist when you're in high school that you can step up and do at the university level.
Yeah, and I think about that here at the TV station because I was a Troy student in journalism and worked here at the TV station and got to anchor and do the weather and do little segments like this, and it truly prepares you for the real world. And we try to tell the students that too. You don't have to be a journalism major. Come on down to the TV station and you know, join us. We'd love to have everyone. And that's one thing I do love about Troy is all the real world experience that students can get here as well.
Yeah, for sure. We tell our students that we're really trying to prepare them for what real life is going to be. I think nursing is a great example, and so is journalism here, where you actually have to get into the field and do the work to learn what it's going to be like once you get there. My wife graduated from the nursing program here at Troy, and she thought forever she wanted to be an ER nurse until her first ER clinicals. She was like, okay, that's not it. And so now she's a pediatric nurse practitioner because she was able to kind of pivot because of the experience that Troy gave her. And
speaking of nursing, that has to be a great recruitment tool now, the wonderful new building that Troy has on campus.
Yeah, Jones Hall is so special. That whole bottom floor with the nursing program, and it's a program that has been successful even in limited facilities, so seeing them be able to step up and use state-of-the-art, second to none facilities in the state is just really awesome to see.
Well, and I mentioned the TV station just a few minutes ago, but I have to say you're one of my fellow hosts here at Trojan Vision. Tell us about this segment you've been producing here called Why Troy?
Yeah, so Why Troy is a new show that we've been doing. It was cool, came out of one meeting. Sometimes meetings produce really good stuff, and so Why Troy has been great so far. And so what it is I get to bring in students who are enrolled here at Troy and talk about their journey through the college search process, and ultimately how did they determine, why Troy? Why did they get here and make those decisions? And it's so fun because each student's journey is so different. The two segments that we've done so far have been, I was dual enrolled through Troy, and Troy was the only option, and I saw the Sound of the South play at a high school band day and knew that's where I wanted to go. And so it's just really cool the different ways that students go through the process and interact with us and then end up enrolling here.
And you talked about dual enrollment, and I bet that is a huge attraction for students here. It's great that they can get college credit while they're also in high school.
Yeah, the early college push has been really big from us. We lowered the tuition rate to $33 per credit hour, so students via a scholarship are getting courses for $99 for a 3-credit-hour class, which if you look up freshman tuition is not that cheap, and so it's a great way for students to kind of get a head start and get familiar with Troy processes, right? They can use Canvas and use their Troy email and be a little bit ahead, even if it's just a couple classes before they enroll, just be a little bit more in tune and more comfortable with what they're stepping into.
And I think one of the segments, if I haven't seen the segment yet, but one of the people you interviewed was dual enrolled and took journalism classes and actually got to write for the newspaper as a high school student.
Yeah, so she interned with the Troy Messenger and ended up deciding that journalism was going to be the degree path for her, which good for her for finding out. We already discussed it. It took me a couple semesters and a couple roadblocks, right? And so she got to make that decision much earlier in high school, and her path to graduate studies or to the workforce is going to be faster than someone who didn't take that route.
And tell us about your team of recruiters, where they're positioned, how many Troy has, and what they do on a daily basis.
Yeah, so my team, there are other teams with the other campuses and other online support sites, but my team recruiting for the Troy campus freshmen, we have 4 regional recruiters, so Huntsville, Birmingham, Mobile/Baldwin County, and then the Panhandle of Florida and Panama City. Then the rest of the state of Alabama is split up by our 4 in-person counselors that work in our office on campus, as well as the state of Georgia.
What kind of challenges is facing higher education? Is it been easier or harder or about the same to recruit students over the last few years?
Yeah, definitely more difficult. You see the sentiment towards higher education change a little bit, and so the conversation sometimes is not, hey, why Troy over another institution? The conversation might be, why Troy because are you going to go to college or are you just going to go straight to work? And we know that higher education has a lot of value. We obviously believe in it so much we still work here, but persuading these students and their families that, hey, this is going to be a good idea for you, it is going to be lucrative in the long term, and these are going to be your favorite 4 years. Like, we know that, and convincing them of that has gotten a little bit tougher, but if we can get students to campus so they can see themselves here, that really helps us a lot.
One thing that I love about Troy, and this is my recruiting pitch to anybody who might be watching, is just I feel like the professors really care about their students. My students are not just a number. I know my professors cared about me so much, and that is how I feel about my students. And I just think that Troy has such a great professor-student relationship that we're able to truly care and mentor and guide our students to success. And have you seen that? Have you heard that from some of the students who come here?
Absolutely, for sure. We see that our professors make real connections with our students, and so I even personally have those relationships myself. I texted Aaron Taylor a couple days ago, hey, my 2-year-old son just looked at me when we woke up in the morning and said, Dada, news? Because it's the routine in my house to wake up and turn the news on, because I study journalism and I want to know what's happening in the world. And so we turn up WSFA, and he gets his little bowl of muffins, and he's watching the news as a 2-year-old.
Well, he may have to come here and major in journalism.
Yeah,
who knows? He may have
sure.
a show one day. Well, tell us a little bit about that. So you have a son. You said your wife went to Troy as well. You have one child?
Yep, just one. Mac is his name. His first letter was T. So I was wearing a shirt with a power T and Dada T. And so, as a huge Troy guy, that obviously really warmed my heart.
Does he like to go to the football games and all the events and whatnot?
Oh, absolutely. Biggest fan of T-Roy there is. Anytime we got a great photo of him and T-Roy this past Saturday at the first game. And so, yeah, he loves coming to campus, and we love bringing him here. It's really special for us. We got engaged on the quad. And so now we get to bring our son and let him run and play on the grass there. And so really full circle for us, for sure.
Yeah, Troy really is close to your heart. That's awesome. Well, tell us a little bit about what your goals are for enrollment services. Like, what do you see happening in the future?
Yeah, so with our office, I try to emphasize to our team, we want to have what I call a white glove admissions service. And so we try to take care of as much of the process for the students as we can. And so anytime they're communicating with us, we're trying to get back with them quickly. We're trying to make sure that the events that we host are catered towards their needs and getting them the information that they want to hear. We actually just had a Saturday tour. We call them Troy Tours. This past Saturday, we had 100 families on a holiday weekend, which we were very pleased with. It was a football home game, and so we gave them tickets, and that was obviously an encouragement to come. But it's great when students can see our campus and see that we're not lying when we say it's Alabama's most beautiful campus. They really can come and see that for themselves. And it's important for students seeking colleges to see, is this going to be a place for me that I'm going to fit in? When I was going through the process 10 years ago, we went to a large university, and I looked at my mom in the parking lot and said, hey, we can do this tour, but I'm good. I graduated high school with 32 people, and so this school with over 30,000 students is not going to be for me, right? But I also toured smaller private schools, and they were too small. It felt too much like high school to me. And so for me and for lots of students, Troy is that perfect kind of middle fit, but I didn't know that until I came here.
Yeah, we're like the three bears. We're like, just right.
Just right.
Just right. And I've had people ask me this question, and I honestly don't know the answer. Does somebody have to wait until it is a tour day, or can somebody schedule a tour on their own time to come visit?
Yeah, so we do, our office, we do daily tours at 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. during the school year, during weekdays, and then essentially one Saturday a month in the fall and the spring, we'll offer those Saturday visits. Football, it's always tied around that. In the fall and the spring, we try to pair up with athletics events as we can.
And Trojan Day is a big event as well. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so Trojan Day is our biggest recruitment event of the year. We do one in the fall and one in the spring. This year it's October 25th. It's a huge tour day with hundreds and hundreds of families where they'll do a browse session with all of our academic programs and student organizations. They'll get a huge tour of campus. We typically provide a meal, and they'll get tickets to the game that day as well.
Going to the game is always so much fun, too. Yeah, absolutely. Well, tell us a little bit about how you are overcoming some of those challenges. We talked about, you said sometimes you have to go, do you even want to go to college? I know that is hard, but how do you overcome that?
Yeah, we just use all the tools and resources that we have. So we've tried to get more creative with our events. So last year we hosted an admitted students day for the first time ever. And so that was geared really towards students. Hey, you've already applied and been accepted. Let's really make that decision. And going back and looking, lots of students that attended that event enrolled. And so we go, okay, that works. Let's continue that. So we're doing 2 of those this year. We're trying to offer tours at different times so that people with different school or work schedules can do that. So once the time changes, we'll do a couple of what we call twilight tours. Me and my wife always say there's something about a Troy sunset, and so we show people that campus is really pretty at that time of day. So we'll do a twilight tour as well. And so just trying to get more creative. And I really hate the phrase because we've always done it that way. And so we try to analyze everything that we do. And hey, how could we tweak this, change this, make it better? Our team is encouraged to, hey, if you have ideas, like spit them out. Let's see what's going to happen. And we'll just kind of see what works and what doesn't. But those personal one-on-one conversations, it's definitely different for each family. What do they want to study? Where are they from? How far away is it? How big was the high school? We try to cater everything as personalized as we can.
And of course, Troy's new engineering program, that has to be a great sell these days.
Huge. Yeah, that's huge for us, for the university, and for just our conversations with students. In years past, students would ask you, hey, do you have a College of Engineering? And when you said no, they just would leave. Whether they were going to eventually study that or not, they might take the path that I did and bounce around and find what truly they want to do. Well, now we don't have to say no to that question anymore. Yes, we do have a College of Science and Engineering, and here are the programs offered, and we know that they're hopefully gearing up to add more. And so students that are interested in that STEM background, we know there's pathways here for them, and there always were, but it's just that naming that helps some students get over that hurdle.
And one thing that I love about Troy too is not just the College of Engineering and nursing and whatnot, but our arts programs are a huge attraction as well. Do you see a lot of students that want to get involved in theater and music and whatnot?
Yeah, definitely. Always coming up and asking us. Our events coordinator, she actually was a dance minor, and so she's able to help the students get involved with that. And I tell, I was not involved in theater in college, but I was in Monroeville in high school, and so I very much can equate to wanting to be involved in that. And it's a great, unique community on campus where students really get involved and really feel connected with each other, because it's a lot of work to put on a production. And so they spend a lot of time together and get to know each other really, really well.
And one other thing that I've loved recently is the new campaign that's showcasing some of the very successful people that have come out of Troy. Are you able to leverage some of those things as well when you go out and speak to students and say, hey, we've got people who've gotten jobs here or have gone on to the NFL network like we have here? Is that something that also you use to attract students to Troy?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the ones in the campaign for sure, but even my close personal friends who I was in undergrad and graduate studies that are very successful now, I point to them all the time. Like, hey, I've got friends in medical school that are going to be some top-notch cardiovascular surgeons. I've got physical therapist friends. I've got lawyer friends. And these are people that I know. They're not just a part of a campaign. The campaign is wonderful, but I can make those personal connections with students. Hey, here's me and that person at a football game. Like we are connected, and they're very successful, and they started here at Troy. I tell students often, you can get wherever you want to go from here. We will give you the tools to be successful. It's just up to you to take the tools out and apply them correctly to the task.
Do you find yourself recruiting even when you're not on the job? I know I do. I'm like, you've got to come to Troy. You've got to come to Troy. But are you doing that as well?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. As a recruiter by heart, it never turns off, right? I'm always talking about Troy. I'm talking about Troy sports. My friends know that I pester them if they're Troy grads. Like, they better be paying attention to Troy sports and all that we have going on. And this past year, it was super fun to be a Troy fan. All the success with basketball and baseball, and we're looking forward to football this year. And so, I'm always talking about Troy.
And we talked about the recruitment efforts, and you talked a little bit about Admitted Students Day, but I'm sure there's also an effort like Admitted Students Day to make sure they stay at Troy and not transfer as well. And what's a little bit of the thought process behind that?
Yeah, a lot of that is making sure that they make the right decision on the front end, right? So make sure you talk them through and coach them through, hey, these are the things you need to think about long term. Where am I going to live after my first year? How am I going to pay for that? Scholarships, what grade point average do I have to maintain to keep that scholarship? Those are conversations that we try to intentionally have on the front end so that students can persist through and graduate. Because as our office, as undergraduate admissions, it's our goal to enroll more freshmen, but it's also our goal to get more people to graduate. Those two things are definitely married together, and definitely have to be a part of our processes as we're talking with students.
If somebody were watching this and was not familiar with how to make an appointment or to set up a time to come see Troy or one of the tours, how would they go about getting more information?
Yeah, so every person would have an admissions counselor that they can find on our website, but for events, it's troy.edu/tours. That's going to have all of our daily tours, all of our Saturday events with descriptions, availability. That's also where they can register. Then the Apply Now button is on every page of troy.edu as well.
And so we talked about you've been here for 10 years, but where do you see Gus McKenzie 10 years from now?
Yeah, I don't know where he's going to be in 10 years in terms of position, but Troy is the answer, right? My wife and I, we lived in Birmingham for a few years after graduating, and it was intentional for us to come back here. We love the small town feel of Troy. We love being here in a college town. We go to all the sports. I've got season tickets to all the things. And so we just love being here and don't see ourselves going anywhere anytime soon.
You know, and I completely agree. That's how I am too. I've lived in a bigger city for a while, and now I love being in Troy. It's amazing how many people come back. Like, we just like, the town is so welcoming, the campus is so welcoming. I don't know about you, but being a two-time grad of Troy myself, even when I drive onto campus, and I've been here for many years, I just get a fun feeling. It's just a great warm feeling when you come onto campus.
Yeah, absolutely. That feeling that I got 10 years ago when I first came to Troy still hasn't left me. I still get excited when I show up on the quad, and I tell my adult friends, like, hey, look, I'm 3 minutes from work. The grocery store's in between, and the golf course is 3 minutes the other way. I'm good. Like, I don't need anything else. I've got all the things I need.
I completely agree. I think I'll be here for Troy in 10 more years, and we can do this again in 10 years.
Yeah,
Gus.
absolutely.
Well, thank you so much, Gus McKenzie, the Senior Director of Enrollment Services, for being with us. We want everybody to come to Troy, be a part of Troy University. You are welcome here, and just let Gus know when you're ready to enroll. Thank you so much. We appreciate it.
You're very welcome.
And we'll see you back here next time on Trojan Vision One-on-One.